We often take for granted that animals like sheep, goats, and cattle were always a part of human life, but domestication has a much more complex history than many tend to think. Around 12,000 years ago, at the start of the Mesolithic period, many ancient civilizations in areas like the Mediterranean, Turkey, Iran, and China began to domesticate animals in specific ways that were shaped by their environments, cultures, and interactions with neighboring groups. But to understand how these civilizations came to domesticate animals, we need to look at two primary pathways through which ancient civilizations domesticated animals: the endemic route to domestication and the introduction of species through colonization and contact with other groups. First, let's look at the endemic route to animal domestication. In an endemic or local route to domestication, populations gradually and independently domesticate wild animals in the region. For example, in the Zagros Mountains in Iran, archaeological evidence suggests that early farmers once managed wild herds of goats and sheep and selectively bred them, a practice that suggests the farmers learned to domesticate animals independently and without outside influence. Additionally, in central Turkey, researchers uncovered evidence such as early sheep and goat mortality, gradual changes in morphological structure, and a lack of trade with surrounding groups, which all pointed to the fact that animal domestication was a self-propelled and locally motivated process. On the other hand, other regions were introduced to animal domestication either through trade or colonization. In Greece and in other regions in the Mediterranean basin, domestication was introduced through colonization from Anatolia and the Fertile Crescent, which had devastating effects on native species. On many Mediterranean islands, factors such as hunting, habitat destruction, and competition with domesticated species caused native species to go extinct. Additionally, we now know that around the years 3200 to 2000 BC, domesticated cattle were introduced to ancient China through early trade practices, revealing that the exchange of goods is another method by which animal domestication was spread throughout the ancient world. People often think domestication happened the same way everywhere, but the presence of both endemic developments and external introductions suggests a far more diverse process. When we look at both independent domestication and the spread of domesticated species through contact, it's clear that domestication wasn't a single uniform process, but was a process that took varied pathways and was influenced by local conditions and cultural choices. The domestication of animals was not a single revolution, but a complex and diverse process shaped by cultural exchange, migration, and local adaptation. From the gradual domestication of animals in Anatolia and Iran to the spread of agriculture through colonization and trade in the Mediterranean and China, we see the lack of uniformity in the transition to farming and come to understand that animal domestication was not, and still is not, a complete process. Even today, as goods, ideas, and technology are shared among groups, modern domestication is experiencing continuous change that will continue to shape our lives.